Hello, welcome to Everything You Love, episode 33. I'm here with none other than longtime friend and Chimaira electronic specialist. Does that sound good? Is that a good thing?
I'll take it. Yeah, it's good.
Electronic specialist, Chris Spicuzza. It's been a long time, too long. Been wanting to make this happen for so long, but I didn't want to do the Zoom thing. Like I mentioned to you, I didn't want to do Skype, Zoom. There's often technical problems with that, and I just don't think it's as an enjoyable of a watch. At least I don't like watching them as much as live. So I'm glad we finally made it happen just when you come to town. You know?
Yeah, it feels more organic, be in the room.
Absolutely. What are you in town for?
Just visiting, really.
Just visiting, just saying hey to your folks?
For a second, I was like, I don't even remember. I'm just here.
Oh, just a visit.
Yeah, just a visit, see the folks. Got some nephews that play sports in town. I promised them I'd go see them play football. They both go to St. Ignatius, doing that. Happen to be going to a Nine Inch Nails concert this weekend. Browns game tonight.
Oh, it's a Browns game tonight.
Yeah. So just giving my lovely girlfriend a wonderful weekend in Cleveland.
Yeah, she's been here a couple times.
She has, yeah. But we're doing a couple things that we haven't done. Cedar Point as well. We're doing on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cedar Point,
I've been there 15 years.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, one of the best amusement parks in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Big coasters, good time. Is there any, by the way, for those who don't know, you're living in Vegas, so that's where he's traveling from. You've been living there since?
2010.
2010. What was it that attracted you, other than what attract most people, but most people go there temporarily? What made you say, I want to come live here?
Well, my family has always had this connection to Vegas. My parents started going there and became degenerates. Not serious, but and got the gambling bug and just the Vegas excitement bug. And they took us, I think I was in like 7th grade, my first vacation there. And I thought it was cool, but yeah, my parents kept going. I think we went 1 or 2 more times. And then several years later, my brother decided just to move out there to start like a new life. I think he just went out there to party, which I don't blame him. He was in his mid-20s. And eventually he settled down and bought a house around, it was like right after the crash, the recession, whatever. Got a house at a great rate. And in 2010, he's like, hey man, I'm moving to this house. What do you think about moving here? And I was like, I don't know. Vegas is not really like a place I would call home. I was just coming from living in Florida. I lived in Tampa for a small 3-year stint or whatever.
Right. You were living in Florida during that.
Everything's a blur now.
And Resurrection, you were living in Florida, right?
Yeah, Oh yeah, I was in Florida during the end of self-titled to the Resurrection era. Moved out. I think so I was at my parents' house while we're writing The Infection and then touring on that. And then, but anyways, sorry, I'm just going in circles. He tells me, hey, you want to move into this house? I was like, I don't know, it's not really a place for me. Very next day, got stuck in my parents' driveway. It was like 3 feet of snow, just trying to back my car out, go do something, run an errand, go to the gym or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm over this. Went inside, literally booked a U-Haul that day. My mom freaked out. She's like, you're just gonna drive across country in this blizzard? I'm like, I'm out, And, she convinced my brother to fly across the country last second, drive with me across country. Nice. And I just never come home. I've just been there since. So,
I've heard that could be just one single event to somebody that's just the straw that breaks the snow plow's back.
For sure. I've debated leaving Vegas a few times, and right as I was about to bounce, I met my current girlfriend, Nikki, who's awesome, but we've been together for 5 years, and yeah.
So, you recently did this interview, which I was enthralled with, I gotta say. And I know it was your first interview in a really long time, so that kind of makes it special. And I'm talking about one you did was with a channel called Audio Vein Entertainment, something like that.
Please link it.
I did. I linked it in the last Everything You Love as well. Telling people that you were going to be coming on soon. We had finally set something up. Everyone's excited. People have been asking for this for a really long time, so I'm glad to finally make it happen. But man, that chat you did, was that one of your buddies or something, or where did that take place?
Yeah, so it was this guy Marcus I met through a photographer friend. Her name is Casey in town. She shoots all like the metal shows, and I think my girlfriend Nikki introduced me to her. And I actually remember going to a few random Vegas shows, and one of them, I guess I walked past that Marcus guy, and he was like super excited to meet me. And because I'm so far removed from the band, I'm always just like, why? Even though like I know because you like Chimaira, but I'm always like, I'm just a dude, And I ran into him a few times, and then actually I think it was like the Limp Bizkit show this year. They played like the Virgin Theater or whatever, and I wanted to check it out. It's actually a pretty entertaining show. And he was there and asked if I could do it, and I was like, yeah, why not? And we ended up just meeting in like a park and just like parking in my car or sitting in my car, and it was like a conversation. I expected it to be like a formal interview, but he just kind of said, "Hey, what do you think about what happened here?" And he just let me blab,
Yeah.
And it was very all over the place, like not like a linear thing where, you're structuring this, but I think the result was cool,
It totally was. I've listened to it twice now because I enjoyed it so much. I really liked hearing your perspective on, especially just like the early days, stuff that I never thought of, or hearing you say it, I'd be like, oh, huh. First of all, whether it's something I didn't remember, I'm like, yeah, or like, oh, he thought about it like that. That's how I feel like I was in a different lane in a lot of the thinking of certain things, and to hear, oh, whoa, that's how he thought about that,
For sure.
And that made up a lot of the beauty of how we worked in our chemistry as well, because there were guys covering so many different angles,
Yeah, I realized as well what others were going through at the time and what their concerns were. And when you're younger, you especially in a band, a lot of people are always worried about their contribution and like how they sound and how they are in the mix and all that. You get kind of lost in that, not the big picture. And I probably fallen victim to that a few times. But yeah, with that interview, it was just one of those things where that's the first time I actually just opened up about how, I didn't feel like I belonged half the time, at least the first half of the career. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like I was mopey the whole time, but it was always just a thing where I felt inferior. It took me a while to feel comfortable,
Well, you were figuring out your role.
Totally.
Not only as a band member, but just as a musician in kind of an unorthodox, newer type position in bands.
For sure. Me with my personality and always wanting to be really good at something, I can't accept just being average at stuff. It always ate me alive, But I realized I put my focus into some of the wrong things, where I know that now that if I spent more time, let's say, being good at playing piano and actually learning how to do that, because it just wasn't attractive to me at the beginning. I was more into like the techie sound stuff and just making cool effects rather than just learning the fundamentals of music, you know what I mean? Where I had to grasp it the hard way, where I'd have to ask for notes, and chord progressions to understand, oh, this is what I should do, And so that was just me being uneducated with music and just trying to make cool sounds and get things to fit in. And obviously, like, someone that would expect, someone of skill out of like my output might be disappointed from hearing that. I don't know if I worded that well, but if someone sees like Chris Spicuzza from Chimaira, just because Arnold and Rob are like rippers, that maybe the rest of the band is, but it wasn't. A lot of us were just like solid musicians or guys that were just capable, and that's what made that Chimaira sound.
Yeah, and it just worked. Oftentimes you don't need to have some background or great knowledge of what you're doing if there's something special about it, and there obviously was.
Sure.
You knew like those sounds you wanted to make, and you made them well, and they were unique, and things wouldn't have been the same without them, or had you taken a different path, or had you been, theory trained in piano and stuff. It could have been better results, could have been worse.
It may have backfired. Yeah, you're right. If I was classically trained or whatever, but I do think that me having a completely different ear than everyone else probably did help do unique things at certain times on records. So, but yeah, the challenges for me on records were always dealing with frequencies and not clashing, because the problem was that I was always walking into a completely finished composition for the most part. Obviously overdubs and like special effects weren't there, but the composition was done, and I was always aware of that. And I know that people were open to working with me. It's just that I just didn't know how to deliver something worth working with, at that time. And so I was always trying to think like, okay, here's a thrash part. What do I do there? Like, you can only do so much, I can't have this weird sound that's like battling it, because the frequencies will clash and people will think it's messy guitar work. So it's always like this weird thing. And I was oblivious to it at the beginning, where I realized it more so during, I'd say, self-titled was probably where I started to figure it out. Working with Suvkov was huge because that guy's just on another level, and he like showed me just new ways to deal with or work orchestration into music. And but he's so intimidating to work with, because what would take me 3 hours to do is like 5 minutes for him. Like, we're just like drawing MIDI notes on the screen, and it's like perfect.
It's
like,
insane.
Man, like a complete section of like horns, violins, like everything you could think of. And I'm just like, ugh. So yeah, you're the best, Jason.
He is. Yes, Jason, you are. I was always blown away by, Mark had exactly what he wanted with Jason, where he could be like, he could wake up that morning and say, I want a what's a Demu Burger type track called? Like a orchestral
Of course,
type metal song. Just a little music for the intro of this movie segment. Can you make one for me? And Jason would have it in like an hour. Like 50 tracks of incredible stuff.
Or just, I think you already covered us on your show where you'll just say 2 bands and he'll play them both.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll make 2, like Alanis Morissette, the Deicide, I think was one of them. And he did it perfectly.
That's in the Resurrection documentary, he could just blend any 2 artists that you told him.
Yeah. I am envious of anyone that makes music that easy.
Yeah.
Where to me it was always really challenging, and that's why I liked it as well. It was challenging, but also so stressful, and it took everything out of me to make a record. Like I was just on eggshells the whole time. I don't know if I looked like it, but I was, just because I didn't want to fail anyone and myself. So yeah, it was a gratifying experience, but always extremely challenging for me.
Yeah, I know. And I appreciate all that stuff way more now and realize its importance and its just DNA within the music than I did at the time. From my perspective, it would be like I didn't envision any of that stuff in these compositions at first. Then all of a sudden I'm hearing these new elements, and I know we butt heads on that, and I'll just, if it means anything, offer an apology, but I'd hear that and it'd be foreign to me or whatever, but it just takes me time to get used to stuff, and now I couldn't picture it without it,
Yeah, I realize it now because you already had the composition in your head, and then foreign sounds are getting thrown in, like of course, and at the time, I'd be like, ugh, because I'm working so hard, I'm trying to finally found something I think sounds good or I like, and then if it gets rejected, it's just like, fuck. So you just got to go back to it. I lost my train of thought. I had something to add to where you're going. I don't know. Skip that.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, but your technical ability and all that stuff is incredible. The computer stuff, obviously. I mean, we've mentioned all this stuff over the years, but just the back end stuff that you did for the band and everything. But one, go ahead.
Now I remember. So with an album as well, dealing with the sonic part of it, I also, every time we do a record, we have that every time Mark hits me up with an email, all right, so what are we doing for this record? Because him and I work together creatively for the vision of the record.
Okay.
The artwork and all that. Obviously we had help with many of the records, like Garrett Todd Bell helping with like Impossibility, self-titled, I think that was it. And so like that was
still, you have to point him in some general idea.
For sure. I think I was more hands off then, but near the end it was like, we were coming up with all the ideas, like for Resurrection, The Infection. Luckily we had an amazing supporting cast for all those records as well. But yeah, that's part of the game. You got to have the vision. And I always felt that if you let other people do it for you, it's not going to be your vision, and it's not going to be how you want it. You're just going to accept it for what it is. And to me, like buying an album, it was not just about the music. It was about the complete package. We grew up in that magical era where CDs mattered, or records, or vinyl, or whatever. And you wanted the entire album. You always listened to the entire album, and it was never about singles. And so, the only thing you had back then was looking at the artwork while listening to the music. And so like it mattered. And you could tell, like growing up, when a band just threw it together or wasn't involved, it just wasn't good, But then you have a band like, Tool, where it's so just finely manicured, the presentation. Even if it's not your jam, like their presentation is always.
Yeah. And those people are still out there that like all that stuff. So, it's certainly not the same, but, every day I'm still asked for vinyl versions of stuff. When's this coming here? Or can I get this on CD and stuff? So those people are still there, which is great.
For sure. I am thankful I was a part of a band that always made sure to have the best presentation, whether it be
definitely
recording wise or live. We always had our unique sound that we stuck with, especially once we found the exact niche we belonged. I was always grateful for that.
Yeah, we're certainly lucky that you guys have had that eye, you and Mark, and we're able to put teams together for just that creative touch, something that I don't have at all. Decorating, let's just call it.
It's yeah, for sure.
So yeah, but your technical ability as well, just from the computer, made me think of an early memory. Tell me what you remember about this. So, Pass Out of Existence touring cycle had just finished up, and we were starting to write for the Impossibility of Reason. And the song that I'm going to talk about is Stig Murder, and I want to say that was the first song written for the Impossibility of Reason, or if it wasn't, it was the first real demo that was put together. And at that time, so I had these riffs strung together, and you mentioned that you could put drums to them. I don't know why we did it that way, if like Arnold was out of town, or why we just wouldn't have played with Arnold, or we didn't have the ability to record Arnold and we wanted a better recording of it. But we went to your house, and in your basement, I tracked out all of Chimaira or brought the guitar track, I don't remember, and then you put in, this is 2002, I'd say. So way before.
It wasn't Pro Tools.
People weren't programming drums back then, or in the metal world. It wasn't happening. And you weren't even using MIDI like you can use with these drum machines today, Superior Drummer, Easy Drummer, all that kind of stuff. You were doing it waveform by waveform, every single kick, every single snare, every single cymbal, every hat and everything, and put it on the grid. And you wrote out what I told you in my mind, the drums for Chimaira, which pretty much translated exactly as is to the album that Arnold's played. He put in his own fills and his old spins, but I mean, where all the snares were, where the double bass were, the body of the song, you made all that like that. And I remember being like, whoa, that was the first time we had ever done something like that, you know?
I don't remember the program. It could have been, I don't know if it was Cubase or
it
wasn't GarageBand because it didn't exist.
Acid?
Maybe Acid or Cubase, one of those. But yeah, I remember, like, I think there was a very limited set of tools as well. I don't even know if we could do time changes.
Like tempo changes?
Tempo changes. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Because obviously we always did a push-pull thing with Chimaira, like throughout songs. We never just set a tempo and just went.
Yeah.
That I remember at least.
Yeah. Some of them ended up that way, but yeah, that was important to us to have some flow in tempo. You know?
Yeah, I remember that. It was challenging, but it was cool. It was fun to do that project. And yeah, now you're recording.
I wish I still had that recording, and I wonder if I
definitely don't have any of that stuff.
If I do somewhere. You know, I did find some early Impossibility demo type stuff that may see the light of day one day. But
what was that? There was like, for Impossibility Reason, there's like an unfinished track. And you guys brought it up. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I think Mark sent it to everyone. I was like, I've never heard of this. Like,
no, you haven't?
I don't remember at all.
I can remember playing those riffs in the upstairs practice spot before we moved downstairs. That song. I think we were calling it the Monty.
Did we actually record it?
I don't believe so.
So it's just a demo, like a not a. Yeah. Was it Spider recorded?
It's definitely demo, but we did do. There are a couple maybe Spider demos that are just kind of live-ish from that. If you don't have the track, I'll send it to you after.
Yeah, if Mark didn't, it's probably in my email. I may have listened to it when he sent it quickly, and I just didn't recall it. I do remember a song from the Possibility record era. It had the middle went into this total Candiria part. It was so sick, but we just ditched it all. I don't remember why, but I was so into it.
I can't remember what part that is.
It was so sick, but yeah, it just didn't make it. I think because it was just so excessive, and it didn't need to be there. But it was 2 minutes of just breakdown riffs after break, but with different changes, different drums, and
Chimaira was definitely influenced by Candiria.
I love
back
Candiria.
Then. I mean, yeah, they had sick grooves and just a sick style.
They were awesome.
That bass player had a good groove to him. I remember seeing him live and being like, well, he just had a good groove to him, The singer, obviously.
300% density, that was my jam.
Awesome. Speaking of early stuff, I don't know if you happen to see this just sitting here yet. And we won't play. I know this embarrasses you for whatever reason. Everybody's got a past.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. I don't even think I have that.
This is just the CDR version that I probably got from you.
That's all that exists.
Really?
Yeah, that's my first band. I was playing bass in that band. You know what's crazy? We never even owned, we didn't even own tuners. This is how bad we were. And that's something that's just how did that even happen? You know what I mean? We were just, I think I was 16. I started that band. I didn't start the band. I actually joined it. I learned how to play bass around 16 when I was starting. And I immediately just wanted to be in a room jamming with people, even though I was not even capable or ready for it. I was just I just wanted to have that fun,
Yeah.
And I happened to meet some guys that were they just let me do it. And so I just started I practiced nonstop. And so I got decent, but they were super cool enough to just let me learn how to play bass with them,
That's how it happens a lot of time with young bands. Hey, let's get a band together. Who plays bass? Nobody plays bass.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try. Okay.
Yeah. They were all pretty good. They were all pretty good at what they were doing. I was the one that definitely had no idea, but they let me figure it out, and I got good enough to at least play okay live, and it was a cool experience. But I just remember looking back how unprofessional we were, how green we were. I think one guy maybe had a tuner, and we would just tune to him, and so we were probably never in tune. And I feel so bad for the singer, Doug. Like we always would complain about how it sounded weird when he sang, but it was because he was not in tune. But we were just so stupid to realize it, that he was probably okay, but he was just trying to fight to fit into this weird sonic mess,
You're having fun.
Yeah, man. That was the days where it's just, you're just having fun. That was all music was then.
Well, maybe I'll play a song during the outro. If Spicuzza allows it, you'll either hear it or you won't.
Nope.
At this point. All right.
If you could find it, great for you, but yeah.
So, people that don't know, if you haven't listened to that other interview I was talking about where Chris describes this, our bands, Chimaira and his early band, From Man to Fly, practiced next to each other. And we knew some of those guys from high school, the singer Doug and stuff. So anyways, we, in between songs, whatever, come over, talk, hang out and all that. And I was gonna ask you what some of your early impressions of like the first practices or meeting us before you joined the band was like, but then I thought, wait, we probably knew each other for a while before you joined the band, right? If we were hanging out and stuff.
Well, I was already in From Man to Fly. I didn't meet you until we practiced next to each other at Rock and Roll Studios. Okay.
You joined when Rob Lesniak was in the band, right?
Yeah, as Andrew Ermlich was leaving, and Rob Lesniak may have. Actually, there was no bass player when I joined Chimaira.
Okay, so you were there for the whole Rob Lesniak.
Yeah, which that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. He was at. Would you say that was about a year?
Not even. A few months.
A few months. Okay.
Jim joined in 2000, and I joined in late 99. Jim was in the band by like March 2000. I think Rob Lesniak lasted like a couple shows.
Wow, and I joined in January 99. So yeah, it was shortly.
My first show was November 99, Euclid Tavern with All Out War and Turmoil opening.
Yeah.
And what I remember about Turmoil is that, I think it was Turmoil, the drummer, Mikey B, went on to be Lamb of God's drum tech for the longest time. So we'd always run into them on tour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a good guy.
He was great. Yeah. So that's why every time I saw him, I'd be like, hey, and it was always that was our connection.
That's
just because
right.
we used to play gigs together,
Man, I don't remember that particular show other than being backstage, or not backstage, like behind the bar,
just behind the bar area behind the stage.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I remember about it.
My memory of that show was just how awkward it was for the first time for me to try to put samples to music, and I don't even know if I was in monitors. So it was already like a bunk situation where you didn't really have a good stage production or good stage hands. It was a bar,
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a bass rig it was like a 15-inch sub because I had bass drops because we wanted those to be loud, but no one could hear that in a bar, But we didn't know that. And I think that's all I brought though was that. I don't think I had anything driving highs. And then I just put a sampler on top of it, like a Roland 808 SP.
SPA 808 or something?
Yeah.
Did you have the Chaos pad at that point?
Maybe.
What was your first gig jam with Chimaira like when you said...
That exactly. I just showed up with the bass rig.
With
my
the bass
old bass rig.
and an SP 808?
Yeah, it was like an Ampeg bass head with a... I don't believe I had highs, which maybe I did side by side. Maybe that's what it was. Because I know I had 410 cabinet and a 18 or 15-inch sub, and I think I had the cabinets sitting next to each other with I think the sample stuff on top. So I think it was maybe the SP 808 here and then the Chaos pad over here, I'm guessing. And one thing I didn't bring up in the other interview that I just did that was how I even got that gear set up was through Dwid of Integrity. So Mark drove me all the way to the east side where like Dwid lived, and just to show me, because this is when I first joined the band, I was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna do like sampling live. Like I know how to do it on the computer, but I don't want to set up a computer live. Mm-hmm. And so Mark knew that Dwid was into like he did electronic stuff. I think he had a group called like Push Button Warfare or something like that. And so I met Dwid and went to his house, and he showed me his rig, and that was my exact setup for the first gigs. Was I don't know about if he had the Chaos pad, he may have, but he had the Roland 808 SP where you just have the zip drive, put the discs in, he got the 16 pads, and then there was the Theremin thing or whatever it was called, the beam. And that was my first setup.
Did you have the beam? Oh, the beam was part of the SP 808.
Yeah, it was like this little sensor on the top. You hit a button and it would do like a Theremin type sound.
Psy Warfare maybe. Psy Warfare? Does that sound familiar? Or was it Push Button? Psy Warfare. I don't know. I'll figure that out.
So long.
All right, so good. So you got the idea from Dwid. Dwid was the singer of Integrity, was essential in so many ways to Chimaira's
Yeah,
career,
he is like one of the quintessential musicians of the Cleveland hardcore scene, Dwid,
Yeah, they're still doing shows. I still see Integrity stuff happening, and they always have new guitarists doing good jobs.
I never was, when the Cleveland hardcore scene was around, I was in a different phase of music then, so like I didn't really know much about it, and I learned it through you guys after the fact, and I didn't realize how big it was until we went to like Germany or like met Dirk Zeiser, like our ex-manager, who was a huge Cleveland hardcore fan. Like, and
It's
loved like
crazy,
Matt's
right?
band, like Ascension.
Yeah.
And so like I had no idea. That was mind blowing to me because I always just thought like they're just local bands, but they
Yeah.
weren't. They were big bands back then.
Yeah.
At least in regards to the hardcore scene and on a global scale.
Yeah, the hardcore scene was just all about that tape trading mindset, in a sense, of just word of mouth zines, things like that, you know. So, and which they still do. I mean, obviously the internet makes it all easier or whatever, but that scene, I just realized recently, is still very much alive and doing the exact same things. There's still fresh guys doing straight edge and all that.
That's crazy.
And with the X's on their hands. Just recently, have you ever heard of a video channel called Hate56, I think?
Heard of it.
It's like what you guys were doing back in the day with bootlegging all these shows.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. So I used to bootleg concerts growing up.
Yeah.
Because I was so obsessed with music, there was no YouTube to watch anything. You know, I remember walking into, I think it was like a CD warehouse. It's like a local Cleveland chain, and they were selling bootleg videos. I was like, oh, so that's how you could see other bands. You know, okay. Just thinking like, I was so young. I don't think I was even allowed to see concerts at that time when I started buying bootlegs. But the minute I was able to start going to shows, not too long after, I saved up money, got like a little high-8 camera, and I would sneak it into shows and film them. You know, I wouldn't sell them. It was only to trade. And so like my first website I ever built was when I was like 16 or 17. I just found some site and just like took the source code and just like figured out like, okay, so that's how they put the text there. And I literally made my first website just to trade bootlegs.
Nice. What year was that?
96, 97. And it was not a nice website. You know, it was just like a page with text.
Angel Fire.
Something like GeoCities or Angel Fire. Yeah. And so, yeah, I was trading bootlegs of all my favorite bands with dudes across the country from that, you know, it was wild. And so I have this huge, like Tupperware type box filled with VHS tapes at my parents' house. All the bands I was obsessed with when I was a teenager, like, you know, like Snot, System of a Down, Deftones, Pantera, all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's all over the place.
That's cool. And you still got them.
Yeah, for sure.
I bet some of those shows have been digitized and are online.
Actually,
right
a lot of them
now,
are on YouTube. Like if you see on YouTube, Deftones at the Odeon, December 3rd and 4th of 97. That was me who filmed it, like right in the balcony of the Odeon. And It's funny that it's been like duplicated multiple times. And one person actually takes credit for being a filmer. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's funny.
I didn't reach out, but it's just funny that I know I filmed it. You know, it's my camera, you know, but I don't even remember what I did with the master tape. He probably has the master tape. He probably bought it, and so he's taking credit for it. But it's fine. You know, it's whatever. It wasn't a good filming job. It's like sideways, but it's like you'd have to to film. I don't know if you can see my lap, but you'd have to put the camera in your lap and you'd wrap it in a t-shirt, and then you'd put because it was a big camera back then. There was a viewfinder, and you would cup it, and you would take the lens off it so you could stand from far away and see the whole screen. So there was all these tricks that I learned from dudes back then. And so you just had it wrapped up. There was no light. You put tape over the light, and so you just had this big thing. The trickiest part was just getting it into the venue. I think I had to buy like basketball compression shorts, like the real tight ones, and then put my underwear on, and then put the camera between that and the shorts, and then pull them up and then put pants over it, or like baggy shorts. But everyone wore baggy pants back then, so it was like no problem. Like that era, everyone's always wearing like 4 sizes too big pants. So, you know.
To hear the things that they had to go through just for that, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
And how easy it is nowadays. Everybody uses their phone.
Some bands were cool enough to just let me film. I would just be like, hey, can I film your show? I'll give you a copy. And I always did. The next time they come through, I'd bring them tapes. Because obviously they're not going to give me their home address or whatever. So
no, those cool times.
But that was my teenage years, filming bands. Playing music.
Yeah. Killer. So now your 20s, we're on the road a little bit, skip ahead here. What do you miss most? Could be a single thing, could be a vibe, could be a place, could be a feeling.
Honestly, it's just the camaraderie and just being around the family. Like I like those moments of just like, you know, there's those days where things are, you know, there's the accommodations are nice and the vibes are good. There's food, you know, that's when we're all getting along and we're having fun and laughing. Those are the days I miss, you know. Some of those festivals where we'd know like half the bands or more, you know, those are always good times. Just to be around familiar faces and just, that was my favorite moments. It's just like hanging out. I do enjoy playing shows, but probably not as much as you guys, maybe because I felt that playing the actual show wasn't challenging for me because it was just, you know, I was just pushing buttons essentially, you know, and obviously I play keyboard here and there to stuff, but for the most part, it wasn't challenging for me. Obviously you have those magical moments where those shows that are like, they get you, you know, there's a couple where I remember one of our last shows in London where I almost like I actually kind of started tearing up and was completely like taken by the crowd's reaction that I was like almost shaking, you know. Our last show in 2017 was like a rush of feelings as well, you know, just that it was overwhelming when we started playing. Those are the moments I miss. But I'll admit, once you get into a groove and you start taking things for granted, and as our career went on, it just became like routine and it wasn't exciting for me anymore. You know, that obviously led to me leaving. But back to you saying, the thing I missed the most was really just our friends. And one, we had a great crew that we got along with, like, you know, loved Grizz and Mike Long, all those guys, Brian and Big John. So yeah, I love being around all them.
A lot of good guys over the years.
Yeah. So those are the things that, you know, when you're off in Vegas and we're not around the same people you knew all the time, it was a difficult transition.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean for this to be uncomfortable. If it is, you don't have to comment on it or anything. Well, I mean,
Gotta say what you gotta
it's just, it is what it is. So there was you know, upon you leaving the band, you know, you weren't really talking to Mark at the time. You know, and there was a lot of bad blood there, just for various reasons. Just a couple, you know, just brothers fighting, really, okay? But then, as you mentioned in the interview you just did, it felt really good to clear that up. And I can concur with that. The same thing. It's a huge weight lifted off the shoulders when all of us kind of rekindled with Mark. And in hindsight, I will say to you, Mark, here, the whole thing wasn't Mark's fault, okay? You know, at the time, everybody was just angry and pointing fingers, and our world came crashing down on us and everything. But now that, you know, we're older men and a lot of time has passed, I realized I contributed to the downfall in some way, especially towards the end there. Just ego, my drinking, things like that. So I know that I didn't help the situation at all. But the fact that we've all, you know, kind of buried that hatchet and are just cool again is great. I know everybody feels better about it. And the last thing I'll say about that is that I remember the moment getting my hair cut by Jim where he says, you know what? I'm just tired of being pissed off. I'm exhausted about being mad. I'm gonna reach out to Mark and try to patch this up. And I was just like, yeah, I'm exhausted of that too. You know, and he went ahead and did that and laid the foundation as you gave him credit for, you know, to kind of making the reunion happen. And it feels so much better to not hold a grudge. Holding grudges sucks. You know?
I agree. Yeah, I battled that for a long time. The post-mortem of Chimaira for me was brutal, where I couldn't even listen to the band. I wanted nothing to do with it. Like if it came on the radio, turn it off. Like it was weird, you know. Strangely enough, I ended up doing Chimaira's website shortly after.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was so awkward for me. But I was when I quit the band, I don't want to dive too much in this because it'll probably bore everyone. But yeah, I switched over to learning how to be a computer developer, apps, websites, that type of thing. And so I was working with this company, Forefathers, which one of the co-founders worked for Ferret Records as a creative director. And so when Forefathers started off, a lot of the jobs they were getting were within the industry just because of his name's Matt. And Chimaira was one of the gigs they got. And yeah, so I ended up doing part of the back end work for it.
Did Mark and those guys know that you were working on it?
I believe so. And it was probably a little awkward for them. But, you know, it was cool to be involved in some way, but it was still awkward because I was still hurting so much from leaving the band and all my internal issues that came with that, you know.
Yeah.
That weighed on me a lot. And, you know, I did a good round of therapy just before Chimaira reunited. And that was kind of part of my process of healing, was crushing all that anxiety and anger with Mark and moving on. That was huge for me.
There was a moment during my maybe final tour, or definitely a final touring run on The Age of Hell, where you came out on the road for like 4 or 5 days, like I don't know that Mark knew about it. You had to have, he had to have known, but you didn't like come face to face with him at all. Were you riding with like Unearth or something? Or
yeah, you guys did a co-headliner with Unearth, and Matt was on the Chimaira. Yeah, Matt was still in the band, and I just wanted to honestly just see Matt and you and hang out with you guys. And like I think Big John was working for you guys as well. I don't think Brian was already moved on, but.
Maybe Bowser was doing lights for us?
Yeah, so I wanted to see the old gang, and I thought it'd be, you know, I still was in that mode where I was still kind of feral and into touring, you know what I mean, if I fully domesticated. Now I couldn't think to do that, but I was still like young enough and still like, I guess that tour mindset where I was like, it was totally fine for me to just get up and go.
Yeah.
And so I think I went to like 3 or 4 shows around Vegas. It was a super cheap flight, but yeah, I was on that tour just hanging out with Unearth all day, and I'd watch them play. I couldn't watch Chimaira play, I would just leave. And Yeah, it was super awkward. I knew Mark had to see me because he's probably in the back lounge the whole time, and I'm walking around, so he had to see me. You know, it was super weird.
But you remained incognito, like
totally, yeah. Well, I knew I couldn't go on the bus because this would
Yeah.
it'd be awkward for it would be awkward for me and him.
Yeah,
We're in really bad terms then.
It was an awkward time. As I always say, for me personally, it was the age of hell that whole time period. And
For me too, and I
aptly
wasn't in the band, and I was feeling those same just bad feelings, you know. And now it was by proxy. So I'm super grateful that we're cool now, you know, Mark and I, and yeah, we talk all the time. And the last show was a pleasure to put together with him, and yeah, I'd say a success as well.
God, as we said, 5 years have passed. That's just insane. It'll be 5 years in December.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Man.
Thanks, COVID.
What's that? Thanks, COVID. Yeah. All right. Couple more random touring questions here for you, just to spark some memories of some places we've been here. If you traveled to the following places right now, name the first thing that comes to mind in terms of something you'd look forward to.
Okay.
Italy.
Leaving.
Okay.
All right. Let me add to that. I'm not saying Italy's a shitty country because it's not fair to just say Italy. Our experience in Italy was just poor. We the promoter that put on the show didn't really do much to accommodate us, you know, as I guess as Americans is the shitty way to say it. Like, I just remember the food was absolutely horrible and unedible. The conditions were always just rough. Like, I remember none of the venues had showers. And like that, like no one cares about that stuff. Fans are like, okay, whatever, you get to play Italy. But it's just like we're talking also an era where Uber didn't exist, Google Maps didn't exist. You're just like, you're bound to whatever you have in close proximity.
A back alley of some club.
Also broke.
Yeah.
And so like you can't afford to go to nice places. And so you're completely dependent on your situation at the venue, which was never good. And so my memories of Italy were always just like dungy clubs, literally having to go to the bathroom into a hole on the ground, which is that's their thing, whatever. But this, like,
in some places, not all over.
Yeah. So like that's just.
But
not
we saw the hole.
We're just not accustomed to it. So you got to realize it's just we're just accustomed to having a toilet. So things like that, and in general, it just wasn't a great experience. My one memory of Italy though is we played that one club in it was like Transylvania Live, and they just told us to destroy the club afterwards. Which that didn't make any sense.
It was crazy. It was
I wonder if it was like an insurance scam or something later.
It may have been. Like, literally after the show, the promoter said, "Hey, that was a great show. We want you to destroy the club." And so us, El Nino, Spineshank.
That was the tour, yeah.
Yeah, literally broke every single glass and bottle in the place.
All the drywall.
Tore down all the chandeliers, threw kegs through all the walls, just destroyed this thing. Absolutely crazy, yeah.
I don't know if they were about to remodel or, like I said, possible insurance scam. But the fact that you let a bunch of drunk 20-year-olds give them the keys to destroy, they're going to do it, So it was a fun time.
Wow.
But yeah, Italy, honestly,
People always think when you've played Italy that they just picture the streets of Rome and Venice and the Colosseum, that's like what it must have been. But no, I say, and not everybody, if you're outside of Cleveland, Ohio, you're not going to know what this is, but I equate it to every place I remember playing was like playing in Lakewood. It wasn't even like playing like downtown Cleveland or anything, It's just like
a small
suburban town, or city with just a small kind of back alley club where the bus is parked in some alley between a couple dumpsters, and that's what you got.
I do plan on going back as an adult and experience it.
It'd probably be better as a tourist, Yeah.
I think I'll love it. But,
so the next one, Paris. Probably not much better in terms of that. Good shows in Paris, though.
Honestly, just really good shows.
Good crowds, good turnouts.
I remember an incident in Paris where I think Arnold said he wanted to order freedom fries at McDonald's. That's like some random thing I remember because he was just on this I'm American kick,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he did it to be a dick, but I think he was just kind of joking, I hope, But that was one of the weird things. But I always remember we got lucky and always had really good shows there. And the fans were awesome. Remember, I don't think we did festivals in Paris, though.
Hellfest. There was that one Hellfest. That was
I don't know how close that's France. It's in France, but I don't know how close the proximity to Paris. Yeah, Hellfest was another one where I remember it was a festival where completely did not cater properly to all the bands, and there was literally no food for half of us. And I think I split a box of wine with Unearth for dinner and then just threw it up. So that was my memory.
And wasn't that last one like a huge rainstorm and there was total mud. Like,
Yeah, the stage was sinking, so Korn bounced
Yeah,
because they're
that's
the
right.
headliner. They didn't think it was safe, but of course
right.
it was good enough for Chimaira. But I did remember we had a great spot and a great crowd.
Yeah.
I loved the show. It was just that it would have been nice to eat that day, you know?
I do remember catering. Yeah.
And shower. It would have been nice to shower
Yeah.
that day too.
But I have talked to fans since then who've said that was an incredible performance, and so at least
That's awesome.
they had a good time from
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
Tons of respect for French fans in general. They always loved Chimaira and came out to our gigs, and so I'm grateful for that.
Totally. Let's bring you to the States. New York City.
Newark?
New York City, sorry.
Oh, New York City. My first memories of New York City always come to mind just when I went there with Mark and I think Hagar and did like all those meetings at like concrete management and like did like when Chimaira was trying to get signed, just doing that tour or whatever. But if you want first thought.
On something you look forward to.
Look forward to.
So
I messed up.
Italy and Paris didn't turn out well.
Yeah.
And actually I was going to follow
Paris?
up with now think of something you would dread going to those places, which you kind of started
Honestly,
with for those.
let's start over. Paris, I forgot the question. So Paris, you can leave all the other stuff in, but Paris honestly would be like going to the dressing room and there'd be like a bomb like bread selection and cheese. Like, cause I always would get there first and just destroy it all.
Yeah.
That's the thing I would remember would just be that. And then obviously the great shows. And so now New York,
Yeah, if you were going to New York with the band, what's something you'd look forward to?
honestly just seeing my friends that live there.
Okay.
So
Does Marcy still live there?
yeah, I believe Marcy still lives there. And then, we had a couple great friends from like the music industry that would come out. Jason Haken,
Yeah.
White Cobra.
Cobra.
Yeah, he would always come out, take me to like Peter Luger or something. I would always look forward to that.
I've never been there. Nice.
Then obviously like the New York fans are like very just passionate, but they'll also just dump you off the minute they're just not into you anymore. Like, because you remember the early days of Chimaira, we'd get the kids that loved us from the East Coast Empire days, super passionate, would know all our stuff. It would be a shock to us because we're from Cleveland and we're in another city and they know you. And then as we got bigger, and Possibility Reason was, I'd say around that era, self-titled was our peak there. And then the minute we kind of like changed our sound and switched labels, they just quit showing up. So that's what I remember about New York. But I would say friends and family were the thing I look forward to the most.
Germany.
Germany. I would say just walking around and venturing in like Cologne and Munich, just seeing the architecture, history.
Not the food, not a big German food fan?
I love German food, but I don't recall getting it there because I couldn't afford good restaurants. I think at the venues it was just standard stuff. I remember like Salisbury steak, like that, but it was like a steak and like a mashed potato thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't think venues ever fed us well.
No?
Very rarely. Oh yeah, there was that one that would do home cooked meals.
Oh, are you talking about Nottingham, England?
No, that one too, but there was one
That
like
guy
that in
downstairs,
Germany.
or?
There was a home cooked meal was pretty good. But the German food I know and love today was actually the stuff I would grow up eating. You
Yeah.
know? So if I went out to a place in town here or whatever.
Schnitzel.
Oh, I love German food.
Yeah. Dubai.
Dubai. Honestly, just being in such a foreign place, it was so cool. And if I were to go back, I'd look forward to just honestly culture shock and just seeing this like incredible desert built empire. You know, that was really cool. As far as experiences go, when we had a day off and we did the whole sand dune thing, that was just awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I never experienced anything like that. It was for those obviously don't know, we did this thing where we had a day off in Dubai. It was reasonably cheap as well for a broke band. They picked us up from the hotel, drove us to the middle of nowhere, and at first you would do these SUV dune rides where they're like cruising through the dunes. It was like basically being on a roller coaster. That was sick. And then they let us ride ATVs on sand dunes as well. And then we did a dinner in like just in the middle of the desert. They had like a campsite set up with like catering and hookah.
The amount of hummus. Do you remember? It was like boats of hummus, just multiple ones.
Yeah, amazing food, amazing time. It was great. Like experiencing like new things is always cool, especially if it's like a great presentation.
One more thing about the ATVs, one thing that I always think was funny was that, from what I remember, you get on these ATVs and they just hand you a helmet and say, here you go. No protocol, no instructions.
Paperwork,
no waiver to sign.
They're not worried about lawsuits over there.
You fell and broke your neck.
Not
your
only
fault.
that, I remember that it was not even just adults, it was kids on it too. Just cruising on an ATV. It was just like, wow.
Helmet's optional maybe even.
Seriously. And I remember Todd just doing just giant leaps. I'm like, I was not scared, but remember Andel's just going like 2 miles per hour on his. But yeah, I remember like I thought I was ripping, but Todd was like doing jumps and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you don't even know what's on the other side of that dune. Could be a kid just parked, But yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, rip at own risk. Canada.
Depends where. Vancouver, I absolutely love. Probably the same reason I love Seattle. Same type of vibe. You could walk around. It's just a fun atmosphere to be in. Yeah, I would say Vancouver, just walking around.
So that West Coast vibe?
I love that. I love that environment, the weather, everything about it. Like Seattle, Vancouver. That's the thing I look forward to.
What was that? The ballroom? The something place to play in Vancouver?
Commodore
Ballroom. Yeah.
Heated
tile floors in the shower.
That was one of the first places we had like legit bathroom accommodations. It was like a heated tile floor with like a double-headed shower. It was just like, what's this? You know?
The double-headed shower. That's right.
Yeah.
Nice. Good stuff. The UK.
Fans, hands down. That's the only thing I look forward to. Is just the shows.
I was going to say that a few minutes ago, you mentioned that one England show is kind of like the last one of the tour, maybe something like that. Where I also remember that was a killer show. The crowd was crazy that night.
Yeah, it didn't matter where we're playing, what size venue. It was always a great gig, and just the most appreciative fans. And you know, like I feel bad now, and I think it's kind of like what I was about to get to is just like when you get to a venue, pull up, there's fans there at 11 a.m. And like for bands that you just woke up and you're probably hungover, you just feel like garbage. You haven't even brushed your teeth yet. You haven't even pissed or shit yet.
Number one priority is finding a toilet that you can use, a usable toilet with toilet paper.
So if you're one of those fans, like just think about if you just woke up and you haven't even shit yet, and someone's at your door just like, hey, how's it going? You know, like want to hang out? Let's take a photo. And like, how would you feel? You know? And so I apologize if I was ever rude, but it's literally just I haven't woke up yet. You know, but it was amazing that they'd actually want to meet us that early and they would sit there all day, you know. And I remember, you know, when we were catching fire over there with Roadrunner and we were doing those signings, they were all amazing. You know, that was fun too.
Yeah.
It was just a different vibe altogether. I think the UK just understands metal better, and for whatever reason, they really love American metal.
Amen.
Yeah.
A couple more. Mexico,
the food.
Yeah.
I remember when we played Mexico City, we were staying at like a real nice hotel downtown, and it was like free room service, which again, like for bands that are broke, like, oh, go nuts.
Yeah.
Me and Matt ate so much chorizo.
Yeah,
and
chorizo
queso fundido, or whatever it's called, where it's like the big block of cheese, like good cheese, with meat melted chorizo melted into it.
Oh yeah.
I literally was so backed up. I didn't go to the bathroom for like a week because I was eating so much cheese. But yeah, that was my memory of Mexico.
I drank shower water on that same trip, and so I did go to the bathroom for 2 weeks straight. Montezuma's revenge, dude.
I got it too, actually, but I was careful, so I think I might have gotten it from a nice like a drink from the hotel. Even though they said that safe water, they were lying to me. So. But yeah, like when you go to Mexico, if I imagine if you're from there, you can drink it. I don't know if you're just like
I think
your immune system builds up a strength against it, but. For us, you know, going over there, for whatever reason, our immune systems can't take it. You just get sick.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get Montezuma's Revenge for 2 weeks after.
That first Mexico City show always goes down as one of my top shows. Remember that? I mean, the crowd's singing louder than Mark at times. You know?
To this day, I think I have a injury from that show. And so I was young then, so I bounced back. But I think it was a lasting injury that has damaged my body forever. So in the early days of Chimaira, I liked jumping in the crowd because it gave me something to do and it was cool to interact and just get into it. And and so I would jump in the crowd with the mic or whatever. And it was only during like a couple parts. And I remember jumping in the crowd. They stole my shoes, tried to rip my shirt off. But what I remember is it was a big jump because the stage was just higher. Like it was probably a 3 or 4 foot drop, which is a lot. Usually it's a kind of a level jump. You're jumping out. And I remember landing on like a kid's head or arm, like right on my back, like hip or whatever. And I've never been the same. Like I have like a back injury from it. And so I think whatever damages to this disc, it's like not ruptured, but a bulging disc is from that. And to this day, I have issues with it all the time and I always got to get adjusted.
That sucks.
But yeah, from that show.
That leave a mark.
And I got my shoes back.
They actually took them off.
Yeah, they literally ripped my shoes off and stole them. I got them back. We did a signing right after the show. I had to trade the kid something for it. It's funny, I had to trade to get my shoes back. I literally had to trade my Lamet pass for my shoes.
One that'll never be in the collection, that Mexico Lamet. I have it. I know what it is, yeah. But that was cool. You remember they had bootleg merch stands set up outside before we even got there? Like, yeah.
Insulting but cool.
Yeah. All right, last one. This is just random. Salt Lake City.
Things looking forward to? Honestly, those are just like another damn tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing crazy. I have memories of bad things that have happened in Salt Lake City, but yeah.
Yeah. Dragon Force guys got their laptops stolen from that one.
We had the incident at a truck stop where a whole brawl broke out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Matt got beat up again, right? I mean,
there was this era in the Impossibility touring cycle where Matt just somehow ended up in trouble. Like randomly found him. Nothing he did wrong. He was just being fun Matt DeVries, just like having a good time partying. Once was in Liverpool.
Yeah.
We did this with Every Time I Die. We did this like club thing. It was just like a rock club where they just wanted us to hang out. It was just a way to like draw fans to it. And and we did that, and we walked back to the university where we played. On the way back, we passed a bar, and it was a bunch of like, I don't know, I guess soccer hooligans walked out, and it was just like 4 or 5 of us. Were you with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. And at the time, Ricky was in the band, and he was Swedish, and I think he mouthed off to one of them. He may have been wearing a soccer jersey. That's probably where it all started. I'm just guessing, because I know he was very proud of his national football team or whatever. I'm guessing. Could be wrong. I hope I'm not making stuff up. But then words were exchanged, and then we were already up the street away from all of it. And Matt veered off to the left, not knowing what we were doing or what happened. He just had to take a leak against the fence. And next thing you know, Matt's getting beat up and he's like screaming for help. And so we had to run down the street and get him out of there. It's pretty scary. It was literally like 4 guys against like 40 guys.
I know, yeah.
You know, thankful we had an absolute ringer with us, our drum tech Hammer at the time, was just wrecking dudes to get us out of there.
Well, I was highly inebriated, but I remember Hammer carrying Matt like a baby. Matt like passed out, but guys still punching Matt.
Yeah, Matt,
and the Hammer like as he is trying to get him out of there.
Matt got beat up really bad. Had to go to the hospital. It was a bummer.
I had a big hamburger lip for a couple days.
Yeah.
Matt missed those shows going to Ireland.
Yeah, luckily, like for me, it was just a scary moment where there was 2 guys, and I just ended up wrestling with them. Really, it was no one got hit. It was just they were just for whatever reason they weren't trying to swing at me. So it was a scary moment, but got out of there. But then back to Salt Lake City, Matt was literally just walking into a Flying J truck stop, and this dude walked up to him and just
didn't you think he like thought he said something to him at like earlier in the night?
I think he was just trying to start shit. It was just this dude. He just walked up and punched him. He was with his friend and thought it would be cute, and literally just rocked Matt in the face. Became a whole thing because Hammer was with us again, called him out because now it's a fair fight because the guy was bigger than Matt that hit him, and Hammer laid him out. Yeah. It was crazy, and the guy he went home in an ambulance. But there was a scary moment because I remember at one point a guy went to his car to get a gun, and then when I heard that I was like, well, I don't want to see my friends get shot, so I just dialed 911 just so it would end the whole thing. Oh wow! So I was the one who actually dialed 911 that night, just because I didn't know if he was actually getting a gun, and I was like, all right, well, I don't see us all get shot. Right. So yeah, that was a crazy moment. But,
interesting. Was that your first time, and was it the last time that you ever called 911?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, actually, well, no. I had a medical episode at home where I had to call 911.
For yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You want to leave it
at that? I had my first panic attack a couple years ago and thought I was having a heart attack. And it was just it was a real stressful moment. I think work stress caught up to me, and this is one of those moments where you got as crazy as things get, you have to learn to step back and take time for yourself to decompress. I think I just got caught up on too much work and stress, and next thing you know, I thought I was having a heart attack, but it was just a panic attack. But I called 911 because I was home alone. I'm not gonna just sleep it off. I was literally like shaking, But it was a scary moment. So yeah, take care of your mental health. Whatever, camera.
Whatever one you like. You heard it here first. Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
The Vegas emergency service are pretty lackluster, so don't get in trouble in Vegas. They will take their time to get to you.
How long do they take to get to you?
30 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And by then I was calm. My girlfriend showed up and calmed me down, and I was fine. I think they took their time because they thought I was some drug addict that OD'd or something, because I guess that's common in Vegas.
Did they just treat you at your house there?
They literally did nothing. They took my blood pressure and something else, and then that was it. And they took off. So.
All right. Well, that sounds like an experience.
Yeah, it is. Something happens.
All right. A couple quick fire questions here. What are you listening to?
Listening to right now? In general, it's weird. I've gone through this phase where I'm attracted to relaxed, chill vibes. And so I still love metal and all that stuff too, but man, I'll find myself listening to, I guess one of my favorite records to relax to is Morning. We're gonna have to do this. Sorry, you keep the camera on. Morning Phase by Beck.
Incredible. The loser guy. I'm a loser.
Yeah, incredible record. super relaxing. That is the number one record. If I could have one record for the rest of my life and I'm on like a stranded island, because I know it'll keep me calm and happy.
Newer or older?
It's I'd say 10 years old at least. It won a Grammy or whatever, which I don't think that matters because Grammys are rigged, but it did win a Grammy. Beautiful record. I suggest it. Super chill. It's just something you want to drink a beer on a beach to.
Yeah. Back morning
phase.
Morning phase.
I could send it to you on Spotify after. But yeah, I'm attracted to a lot of those vibes now too, which is not a normal thing for me. What was the original question again?
What are you listening to?
As far as metal goes, Humanity's Last Breath is pretty sick. They're fairly newish. They're from Sweden, I think. I believe the guitar player is kind of like also an engineer as well. He records a lot of Swedish bands or whatever. But yeah, it's sick. It's just extremely heavy. Yeah, it's great. What else do I like in the last year? These aren't new bands, but Periphery. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. I played some tracks.
You've been trying to get me on.
I'm super drawn to them because I feel like it's like Meshuggah meets Faith No More type vocals, like old style Mike Patton vocals. I feel that they're just extremely talented, and when I see them working in the studio, I wish I had those chops in the studio. And what's impressive to me about that band is that literally all of them can write a record on their own. Like they're all just musicians, you know what I mean? Where we had to rely on like you to lead the charge with Mark to write, full compositions. Matt as well, I guess, but like, you know what I mean? Like you were the foundation of writing for Chimaira. Where with Periphery, I'm sure it appears that any of those guys can come to the table with a song, which I think is super impressive.
They do have a lot of knowledge and power throughout their band.
Yeah.
Guys can do a lot of things.
Sleep Token is a band I learned about a few years ago. They released a song called like Jaws on YouTube. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They got signed a few years ago. They sound like Radiohead-ish meets Meshuggah again, which is another like, there's a lot of these bands doing like these drastic things, but I'm drawn to it because I love dynamics in music. I guess I'm listening less and less of just like thrash and that kind of stuff, just because I've heard a lot of it, Yeah. In regards to that world, I'd say Power Trip was the best thing to come out of the thrash scene in the last 10 years. That's my opinion, as far as newer bands go. Let's see. I think that covers most of it. One of the most recent bands I think is kind of cool, Spirit Box. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Just a cool band. Curious which direction they're gonna head. But are you familiar with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're cool. At first, I kind of rejected it, but it just grew on me. Now I love it. Just some great grooves. I think some good songwriters for sure. Girl's got an amazing voice. Or woman.
Yeah. I'm not super big into female vocalists. Sometimes I wish they'd
Same, I never really was.
I love female vocals with singing, but the screaming thing, I just kind of like, no one's ever like done it for me, where I'm like, oh, that scream is unique. I've never heard it before and it's badass or something,
For sure.
But singing, for instance, like, what's that other big female fronted band?
Kitty?
No, they're just the same league as Spirit Box. Ginger.
I think they're pretty cool too.
So yeah, her screaming vocals, cool, whatever. They don't really do anything for me, but her singing voice over that music to me is what gets me. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Honestly, those two bands are probably the first two female fronted bands I really, really, really liked. Lacuna Coil, amazing singer, but for whatever reason, I just it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
Kitty wasn't my thing. They were good at what they did, just wasn't my thing. I don't know.
It's good to see them reunite recently. You see that?
Yeah, that's sweet.
Hearing those songs again brought back memories of 2001. Hearing those songs on stage, at that Blue Ridge Rock Festival. I just happened to watch a little.
That's cool that they. I know it's mostly just the sisters, but it's cool that they did that gig. Good for them. Same with God Forbid. It was sweet that they did that gig too.
Yeah, I agree. I think they had a good time and.
Shadows Fall. Oh yeah, Shadows Fall, another reunion. Yeah, it's cool to see the graduating class coming back out.
Yeah, he's still got those dreads, man, and they look like they're like down to his feet. Did you see that? Did you see any of that video? It's insane. I thought for sure by now that he would have they would have gotten away of life to a point where he would have been like, all right, I got to do something.
That's a real commitment.
It is, man. Yeah.
I mean,
and they must weigh. I don't even know, 20 pounds or something.
That's a consistent guy right there. Still skateboards too. Like, it's pretty cool.
Imagine skating with those things in the way, Like, I imagine there's methods for tying them up that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
But
I only know this because I once in a while I'll lurk like our old like tour mates and stuff to see what they're up to. It's almost like your high school class.
I'm proud of the ones that are still going. Yeah, some people, I call it the guys that weathered the storm from our class, Lamb of God, Killswitch,
Unearth, they're still going, yeah?
Yeah, so...
It's crazy, the Lamb of God thing, just to see like how just enormous they are still.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm so proud of those guys, but it's cool to see because they were just like, we were playing bars together for the longest time. And we went this way, they just went, you know, so, and, but they earned it, man. Those dudes are grinders. I mean, they were grinding before Lamb of God with Burn the Priest, you know, so it's not like they just started Lamb of God and got huge. I mean, those dudes have been at it forever. And the fact that there's still this original 5 members. Chris Adler left not too long ago, but they lasted that long with that original lineup. Like, that's huge because, I mean, people just change. And so it's hard to keep a band together, you know?
Willie's coming in and out a lot too, and there's a lot of speculation about that. I don't know if you've been seeing Phil Demmel's been playing with him. I think it's due to the pandemic stuff, you know, or vaccination requirements or something.
I think it had to do with that, his stance, you know, but cool. It's all good. What was another? Deftones is another band that the reason why the original members aren't in the band is because the one passed away, but like they were still like the original core.
You know what was weird though? I just heard recently I think it was because of vaccination stuff that Stefan wasn't going to tour with them. Maybe it was overseas, or was that like? Yeah,
Stefan. I honestly can't speak for him, but from the podcasts and stuff that I've seen, it sounds like he just wants to tour domestically now.
I don't know why I feel this way. Like, what makes Deftones special? But like, I've never actually thought about it the way I'm going to describe it here. But I've thought Deftones is one of those bands where I just don't think they should play if Stefan's not playing with them. Kind of like if like Slayer were gonna play without Kerry King or something. Or
I agree, but imagine the guys that want to pay bills and, you know, save up money and like, I mean, I've learned this is like as you not make more money, but as you become an adult and have families and you know, let's say you do start making more money, you don't want to just scale it back. You want to like at least maintain that level of savings and investing or if you're just into buying stuff, you know, spending. So I respect that and I understand like, they probably make a lot of money, but that money can go quick.
And I'm sure that they have management who's constantly telling them, guys, please keep working. You need to keep working, things like that. Like if Metallica didn't have management, would they still be grinding it as hard? Would Ozzy still be forced? You know, I read these things like, I'm looking forward to going on stage. That guy just wants to just collapse. You know, do you think he wants to tour more and stuff? I mean, but there's so much money to be made.
Yeah, honestly, I think he just does whatever he's told. Yeah. But one of the things that fascinates me now that I wish I knew more about then and I would love to know now is just like what bands make, but also the business structure of the bands, which is not, to most people, is not interesting. Meaning like, is it like a S Corp? How do they just do payroll? Like how do they pay crew? You know, that type of thing. And just how they create like their own, just small business, you know? Obviously you have like a band like Metallica where it's obviously it's a corporation and they're paying hundreds of people because it's such a giant thing, you know. They'll have a division just to help make a movie, you know. So that's a good podcast idea or whatever. Just sit down with a bunch of bands from the era and like, how'd you guys handle business?
Yeah, people do really want to know that stuff.
I would love to know that stuff. That to me is more interesting than writing music, you know, that because in the band I gravitated to the business side more naturally because I just thought it was fun.
Right now I think there's a lot of money to be made because people are just packing shows. From what I'm seeing and hearing, ticket prices are, you know, 50 to 100% higher than they were before the pandemic, and people are paying them. And merchandise just in live shows is selling like crazy.
It's all relative. Just everything's going up. The cost of living's going up. So just, I think it's just, you have to keep up with inflation in general. Otherwise you won't make any money.
Yeah.
So as cool as it is to sell a t-shirt for $20, people got to realize like that t-shirt, they're not making $18 on a $20 t-shirt. You gotta taxes, venue fees, paying the vendor, paying the cost of the
end of the day,
production,
you're lucky maybe
shipping.
$4. You know,
yeah, if that. I think there was like a price point we set that we tried to make per item. I don't think when touring our merch really exceeded $30 a shirt, which in hindsight is a lot to pay for a t-shirt, but nowadays it might be normal. I don't even know.
I think that probably is, yeah.
But when you factor in all that stuff, it's just like in the end, the band really doesn't make much, you know, $2-3 a shirt. So
yeah. Consistency and longevity, being out there, doing it, you know, I think that's how you make
But
the
if
money.
you're an arena band charging $50 a shirt, you're definitely making $20 a shirt at least, I imagine. So
yeah, that kind of margin. What about Netflix, YouTube? What are you watching?
Netflix, a lot of Great British Baking Show, no joke.
What is it called?
Great British Baking Show.
Great British Baking Show.
Yeah, it's a total like grandma show. It's literally a show that it's a baking competition but it's based out of England obviously, and I put it on at night to relax and fall asleep.
Nice.
But it's literally just super calm and just chill and like but it's cool seeing people make stuff.
Yeah.
But no, that's not something I would suggest someone to watch. But trying to think what shows I've seen in a while that have been really cool. Dark was really cool. That one's based on like, it's all kind of about like time travel, God particle thing. That was cool.
Favorite bands? I know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would say that if you had to name your 3 favorite bands, it'd be Deftones, Korn, and Nine Inch Nails.
Close. Korn was my hands-on favorite band growing up, and it was because the era, who I was at the time. But since then, their music doesn't. I still check them out because it's nostalgia, and that's the band that got me obsessed with music. Like, you know, nowadays, I'll listen to their newer records. The new one didn't really do much for me. The Nothing I thought was really good. But my top 3 would be Faith No More. It's not number 1. In no order here. Faith No More, Deftones, Nine Inch Nails, and then Tool's like right there.
Okay.
Those are the top.
So I was gonna ask, which one would you want to tour with? And you know, Nine Inch Nails or Tool would be the biggest of that, but that may not be your number 1 choice for whatever reason. I know we did some shows with Korn, but never really did a tour.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Deftones, Korn, Nine Inch Nails, add Tool.
I would say Deftones.
And Faith No More.
100% Deftones is the one I would want to tour with.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Have we ever played with Deftones?
I think at Download Festival.
Download?
Yeah,
what about
unless they played that too. Just like 2 festival gigs. We never did a tour with them.
I feel like well, I wasn't sure if Deftones were on Smokeout, but I feel like Stefan was. Maybe with like, he had some other band or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Deftones are now, like, because obviously we're not touring anymore. Like, you know, but from what I get, they'd be a fun band to tour with, like after the gig. I don't know if they're in like dad mode now where they just go to the bus and take off to a hotel. But, you know, back then I imagine it'd be a fun vibe where backstage would just be, you know, a very welcoming vibe type thing. And it'd be fun to be on that type of tour. And obviously, like, I think their fans would have liked Chimaira to some degree. You know, obviously, like, Deftones have a lot of melodicness that we lacked, but I think there's enough crossover there that we would have done well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nine Inch Nails would be meh. No, I don't think I would like that tour.
No.
No.
Except to just watch him every night.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to meet him either, Trent Reznor. Like, he's one of those guys that I'm not a fan of meeting idols. I don't even like I'm not into idol worship either, really. It's not my thing. But like, I'm not into meeting like those guys, because I understand who he is and the type of person he is, and knowing that it would not be the type of reaction of meeting someone that I would want. It'd just be very, hey, later, you know, and that's not going to do anything for me. You know, I want to sit down with like a mutual friend that knows him, that could introduce me, not as a fan, and just kind of rap about stuff and hear conversations, you know, or not conversations, but have a conversation and just BS. Yeah.
Do you remember Wedge? So Wedge was our, I know you remember Wedge. Of
course,
a conversation where he would tell us about some of the early days. Wedge was our sound guy and tour manager in like 02 to 01 or 02, somewhere in that era. Yeah. Right? And he was with Deftones, their sound guy, when they were first starting out. And I remember he would tell stories about those early Warped tours, I think, where, you know, those were like the days of when that stuff was happening, that West Coast like mix and that new kind of like hardcore sound, you know, with Deftones, what they were doing with Adrenaline and all that. And just that whole, I don't know, that whole No Effects and Pennywise and that whole scene doing that. But he said that they had their own printing press on the road with them, and they were printing their own shirts and doing like 40 grand a day, like, and just counting stacks of cash in the back lounge, and it was all like in-house like that, doing their, I always thought that I'm still fascinated by that.
That's wild. I almost don't believe it just because, but I mean, meaning like that they sold that much back then because there's so much competition on a festival tour like that. Yeah. And Deftones were just like, you know, one of the side bands. But if that is true, that's so incredible. You know, the fact that you're that self-sufficient to just do that to make money. That's wild. I love hearing old tour stories from other people. That's my favorite thing, is hearing stories and hearing just beef and stuff like that, or drama or whatever. I love tea. Like, it's my favorite thing. It's just to hear just crazy stuff that bands did that no one's supposed to know, you know.
Any big beef stories that come to mind that you can
honestly
tell?
Sorry, it's blur.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I do remember a story Big John used to tell us when he did monitors for a Marilyn Manson gig, and Marilyn Manson spit on him, and he claims that he cocked a gun and put it on the monitor console.
Really?
Yeah. And then that was it for that. He quit spitting on him.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard Big John say that Marilyn Manson was just a total dick to him. Like, Big John would just be sitting on the tour bus. They'd been out for like 3 weeks or something like that, and Marilyn Manson would just come up and be like, "Who are you? Why are you on this?" I see you every day on stage.
Yeah,
I'm your monitor engineer.
It always disappointed me to hear like how poorly people got treated on tours, which I'd feel bad if there were stories about me treating people poorly. I hope I didn't, but if I did, I'm sorry.
Are you still doing any type of graphic design work? You know?
Yeah,
no. Do you miss that?
It was fun on records, but I'm just limited as an artist. I'm not an illustrator. I'm just, I was good at piecing some stuff together in Photoshop, and I got by pretty well with that. But no, I gravitated actually more to the engineering side, like building, and which is with like web development and app development. And so I'm doing that, but I'm actually transitioning out of that into more of a business owner role. So I got 2 things I've been working on for quite a while.
Do you consider yourself part of the fitness industry?
The businesses 100% are part of the fitness industry.
So do you consider
myself? No, I'm a developer. I would say I'm more on the tech side, but the businesses are. So for people who don't know, when I left Chimaira, I shifted to originally just web development, which was just like building websites in WordPress and this and that. Just your natural progression to, anyone that really wants to learn more, it's just normal. You just start learning other programming languages and but also learning how to build scalable interfaces, things like that. And you just get better and build bigger things and get on more important projects as you go. There was a moment in my life where I was a front-end developer on a porn startup, which was interesting. That was short-lived, but I learned so much from that.
That came and went?
Yeah, every day. That was weird, but yeah, I was working for an entrepreneur that was trying to do the next Pornhub, which was a massive fail. The website itself, the technology was amazing. It was a cool-looking site.
You pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, I mean, this other fella, we crushed it. But his name, the guy I'm talking about is Kevin, the other fella, and he's now actually in one of my other businesses, which is called Carbon Diet Coach. It is a nutrition app. So let's say you're someone that needs a diet coach, meaning like, hey, I don't know how much I should eat. I'm always overeating or undereating. A diet coach can get really expensive. So with Carbon, we give you that nutritional advice. We don't do meal plans, but we'll tell you like our meal plans. We'll tell you how much to eat and we'll adjust it weekly. It's just up to you to check in. It comes with a built-in tracker, so it has like that MyFitnessPal type thing going. But that's probably the bigger entity I have going on, and that's with 5 other people. Some of you that are into fitness may know like the main 2 driving forces. So I've been working with this guy, Lane Norton, and later on I was working with he later on got married to a woman named Holly Baxter, and they're just 2 juggernauts in the fitness industry, heavily pushing science. I really like working with them just because their work ethic is just hard, and also their morals are just, they're stand-up people. And everything we do is with integrity, no like fitness scams or anything like that. And once you start working in the fitness industry, you really see how bad things are. People will sell you anything.
One thing I like about Lane's videos, like if you follow him on Instagram or check him out, is I'd say his main thing really that I see is that he just like debunks other people's claims. So he'll show somebody saying that like Diet Coke or something is the worst for you, and he gives real research that makes you go, oh, okay, that seems legit.
That's the thing. He backs everything with research, and I highly respect that. And I love the dude. We've been working together, I think, over 10 or 11 years now. So it started off small and it just got bigger and bigger, and he trusted me more and more, and then eventually got to the point where like, hey, let's launch these 2 big projects, and that was the one. It's the Carbon Diet Coach, which you can get in the Apple Store and Android Store, and then the other is biolane.com, which is it used to be an education website where you just learn about fitness and nutrition and supplementation, and then now it's shifted to we offer training programs. So what's nice is if you don't know, like I want to strengthen my, let's say chest or improve bench press, there's a specific program just for that, And if you're not good with programming, we offer it at a reasonable price, and then you track it on your phone just like you would an app.
Is that the Carbon app or a different?
This is biolane.com.
Biolane.com. Use code C Spicuzza to save 10%. No, just kidding. No code, sorry about that, guys.
But
but I'll link both those below.
But yeah, I guess you could say in regards to those, Carbon Diet Coach, I'm just one of the founding members of the company, and I was one of the original developers on the project. I don't work on it as much now, but if you download it and you like the interface, I'm responsible for it. So if you don't like it, sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then with the Byline project, I guess you could say I'm developer / product owner / I don't know, entity runner. I kind of like drive the product forward. Lane and Holly will come to me with ideas, and then we'll figure out how to make them happen. We also, another thing part of byline.com is there's also now a research magazine. So if anyone's into fitness and nutrition research, it's a monthly magazine that comes out. So what happens is we have a writer named James Longstrom. He'll there's always research happening. It'll come out. A lot of people won't know about it because it's not public yet. The only way you'll know is through like magazines or blogs or whatever, podcasts. And so he'll pick up 5 hot topics in fitness and nutrition that have research behind it, and he'll review it and translate it into more consumable language, with graphics and all that. And that's the other product. So basically a magazine about research.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, and you're enjoying all that, I imagine, still?
Yeah, I love it. It's being a business owner is awesome. I've realized that that's kind of my calling, is just coming up with my own ways to make a living and be creative. Maybe I'm not doing art, but I'm creating this from nothing. Well, not just me, but just providing something to people. I think that's just my calling. I don't even know what to call that, but I've always been in that role. I've never been a cubicle guy. It's not my thing.
And you're kind of doing it on your own terms.
Yep. So that's just one of those things.
Designing it as it goes.
Maybe I don't like authority. Maybe that's my problem.
So, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Honestly, I have no idea, because it keeps
Same
changing.
place is fine too.
It keeps changing. I have a feeling what I'm doing now is going to last at least another 5 or 10 years. I hope.
Are you 40? You're 40 now?
41.
41. Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, it'd be amazing to be retired at 50 and golfing every day.
Wow.
That's the dream.
How often do you golf now?
As of now, 0. I'm dealing with some hip issues. I'm trying to work out. Might need a hip replacement, which
Mexico
is awesome.
City incident, right?
That's the back. But yeah, my hip is just.
You really might need a hip replacement?
Seriously, yeah. It's. I think it's just genetics. My right hip down here, it's basically bone on bone now. Yeah. So like walking's okay, but it's getting increasingly worse, where it'll just start hurting. It's like deep in the joint. Anyone with arthritis would understand. But with golfing, it's all like you're pivoting your hips and turning, and it's always on this hip, like, because it's my lead hip. And it just hurts. I can't even golf anymore.
Oh, you're left-handed too?
Yeah.
Oh, so that sucks.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Yeah, when you can't even do your own hobby, your favorite hobby or whatever. And even weightlifting is difficult now. So you just got to learn to adapt. A lot of physical therapy, and just, we'll see. But I hope I don't have to get the replacement, because that's a big setback. And we'll see.
I imagine that would be quite a setback. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 months of barely moving.
Dude, any type of surgery like that. But yeah, that's crazy, and at such a young age too. I mean,
I agree. The big fear with getting hip replacements is that if you have to, based on the technology of now, it probably has to be redone every 15, 20 years. So, and you can only redo it so many times because they're basically hammering like a rod into your hip, like into your femur, I mean. And so like when you get older, let's say like I have one hip replacement now, I might need another at 65. The next one would be 85. I might not be able to get one, and so I just won't be able to walk again. You know what I mean? Because where are you gonna put the hip? Unless they have some sort of crazy technology, then like a complete replacement where they can replace the entire, pelvis bone or pelvic bone. But yeah, that's the big fear, is that if I get it now, I could be full on handicapped by 80, 90. Be a bummer.
It would be. Not really something to look forward to.
No.
There. Well, I wish you the best in whatever decision you make and course of action.
Obviously, living that long is a feat in itself, but it'd be nice to be able to walk.
It would be. And, you never know, but
I always dreamed to be that 90-year-old on the golf course. I had an uncle that golfed until he was 94 and literally died the day he was golfing. Like, not on the course, but he literally ended up dying that day.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool that he literally died doing what he loved doing
Doing
most.
what he loved doing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the way to go. He died what he loved doing best. Out on the links.
Do you ever fear that, you'll have issues with the hands at some point with guitar playing?
No, I mean, I don't think so.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood for sure. My body is, I don't even want to say it because of the superstition, but it's been pretty good to me in certain ways, But yeah, anything can happen. You never know. So, well, it's been real. It's been informative.
Yeah.
It's been great catching up.
I hope it was entertaining for some.
I think so too. If you've made it this far, Chris and I both appreciate it.
I don't know which one to look into. There's 3.
Give us a, you can look wherever you want. Give us a little thumbs up there, you see, just like that.
Appreciate you watching.
So that, other people will be informed of this video too. Yeah. It's,
share with your friends. Get Rob that click money.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anything you can do to help. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. For more of these, I've done every band member now. Like I said, I didn't mean for you to be last, but it's just haven't seen you in person.
I am not offended. It was a pleasure. I would actually like to do one of these days a full band, just let the camera roll and let us just hang out.
I think that'd be really fun. I think that'd be really fun. Do you have NBA TV?
No.
They do this thing just called the NBA Roundtable, and they'll get guys like Shaq and Barkley, and they just sit around, comfortable chairs, just dressed normally. And they just sit around and just tell stories. I love it. And EJ, the main guy, he's the main TNT, like white guy in the middle, always wears the bow ties, but he'll just kind of direct it, sometimes, because some arguments will happen and he'll have to break it up between like Charles and Shaq or something. But anyways, I think that all the time that if there's ever like a reunion of sense where more than something is just happening than like one show, that we need to get Todd Bell involved, get the team back together like that, and have him set up something like that where we can just sit around and tell stories and laugh and stuff. And I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, for sure. Whenever we're in a group instance with Jim, I tend to just sit and listen because I just want to watch him. So I don't speak up much unless I have some input on a story or something.
We wait for things to poke fun at,
obviously Jim's gonna go right after you.
Whatever, Rob.
That's the thing that I'm sure our fans have realized watching our home videos, that Jim and Rob have just had a catty brother-like relationship the whole time, and it's always just been the ongoing humor is the whole time. It's just even like when he cut your hair before the Cleveland show, he's messing with you.
Yeah. He always is, and now he messes with my son. Yes, he's cutting Robbie's hair. Robbie doesn't really say anything. He just clams up in the chair and just doesn't really. But Jim will be asking him about Halo, or if he shat yet this morning, or when's the last time he had a cigarette, or something like that. And Robbie will just be like, "What?" Just typical Jimisms,
Yeah, I just remember also just you guys singing songs about who's fatter in the band too. It was always like if something was on the radio or something, they would take that melody and then write a hook based on that.
I still do it every single day. Hear some hit song or whatever, and improv the word Jim in, or Jim is fat somehow into it.
I always remember anytime I hear The Flame, I think about the Jim's fat part on the second verse. How you and I on stage would just like say Jim's fat to the riff.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. The little stage moments here and there.
Yeah, so if you ever see us playing the Flame or look at an old video, look at me and Rob. We'll be looking at each other doing it. That is that moment. Second verse.
I hope we'll do it again. Did we do it at the last show I went, or did we play the Flame?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
We played the Flame.
Yeah, we played the Flame.
Yeah. Someone should just leak all that footage. But I just don't know if
is there footage of the whole show?
I have the whole show videotape. I don't think we're allowed. I don't know if we'll have issues if we do because of the venue.
People ask all the time, and I say, and I've said the truth that I didn't know that it was filmed. I have all the audio, and I plan to mix that soon for whatever wants to be done with it. But not to know that there's video to accompany it. Who took the video?
My friend, and I just paid him like whatever.
So it's done well?
It's like a good camera. It doesn't move. It's just stage panned out. Just because I wanted to see the full production.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that myself someday.
I swear I sent a link out to everyone.
Maybe you did. Yeah, I don't.
It would have been right after we did the shows when I did it.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that again after I finish the audio, and maybe we'll sync them up.
Cool.
Chris Spicuzza.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure. We will do it again in some capacity, maybe with the whole band, because that'd be the next feat. So we'll try that. Everybody's been on.
Hopefully before we're not too old.
That's right. Thanks, guys.
Later.
See you on the next one.